What's up, guys? I wanted to switch gears this week and talk to you guys a little bit about muscle building as opposed to fat loss. I will tell you first and foremost, it is very difficult to lose body fat and put on muscle at the same time. It's not that you can't, it's just, it's complicated. It's very, very complicated. That's the first thing I'm going to say. All right. Typically speaking, when you're trying to put on muscle mass and get bigger and stronger, you want to be in a calorie surplus. You want to be eating more calories than what you're burning. And typically speaking, when you're trying to lose body fat and lose weight, you want to be in a calorie deficit. So eating less calories than what you're burning, which is why it gets a little complicated, right? Not going to go into the details of that right now, but we're just going to put that to the side, right? So generally speaking, for myself and for when I'm working with clients, even for friends of mine that I know that go through phases of like, I want to bulk up or I want to cut down, I suggest focusing on one at a time. Focus on fat loss or focus on muscle building, right? That way you can really zone into what your goals are. That's the very first thing I wanted to go over. The next thing I wanted to go over was how to approach it properly and in the best ways possible, right? So if you're trying to gain weight, like I said, you have to be in a calorie surplus, consume more calories than what you're burning. In order to do that, you have to kind of find out what your baseline is. What's your basic metabolic rate? What are you burning every day? That's why this is usually, traditionally speaking, easier to do if you have some sort of calorie counter, right? So if you have some sort of watch, some sort of Whoop band, heart rate monitor, Apple Watch, or anything like that to help you be able to count your calories, because then you can just add about 200 calories on top of whatever you burned that day, or 300 calories on top of whatever you burned that day, in order for you to be able to be like, okay, this is what I should be getting in. This is what I should be, since this is what I'm putting out. Now, the next piece that goes with this is remember that the fitter you are, the longer you've been working out in terms of years. I'm not talking about a few months. I'm talking about someone who's been working out for years, who's an athlete. The fitter you are, the harder it is for you to put on muscle mass, okay? It's not that you can't, of course you will, but you are it's not gonna be as quick as someone who's just starting out, who has a low baseline. You have a much higher baseline. You're gonna probably have to eat a lot more calories than someone who's just starting out. And your metabolism is much higher, your body's much more adapted to training. You can still do it, but you're just gonna have to really specify and zone it. Okay, so for anyone else, you still want to keep track of what you're eating. And I kind of typically tend to tell people, you kind of have to be okay with the idea that you're probably going to put on a little bit of body fat while you're trying to put on muscle mass. At least if you're trying to maximize how much muscle mass you're going to put on and how much strength you're going to put on, you're in a calorie surplus. If you're trying to hit those numbers properly, you're going to have to put on a little bit of body fat. You just be okay with that. Otherwise, you're going to probably stress yourself out quite a bit, counting exactly how many grams of carbs, fats, and protein you're doing as you're gaining the muscle mass, and how many calories are coming in, how many calories are coming out, and just drive yourself crazy and eat ridiculously clean all the time, which is even harder to get a lot of calories in when you're eating super, super clean, right? And I'm telling from experience, like when I was in training camps for fighting, it was brutal to get 32 to 4,000 calories a day. And it would vary, but I had to at least hit 3,200 a day. And it was so damn difficult to do that eating healthy all the time, because I wouldn't allow myself back then to have a cheat meal, maybe one tiny little one once a week, every couple of weeks during training camp. But most of the times I was eating healthy. And getting 3,200 calories healthy with a full-time job and everything else, full-time training schedule is... So my suggestion is, if your focus is to get stronger and to gain weight, just eat as healthy as you possibly can, 99% of the time. But every once in a while, if you need to have some cookies, or if you need to have extra pasta, or if you need to have, I don't know, whatever else it is that might not be the healthiest to get you to that calorie surplus range, go for it, right? Like, that's your goal. It's okay if you put on a little bit of body fat. You can lose it later on. You can dial it back whenever you need to. But if your main focus is strength and size gain, go for the calorie surplus. Don't dirty bulk all the time, but try to clean bulk for the most part, and then fill in the gap wherever you need to. and don't feel so guilty. That's one of the fun things about when you are bulking up, is that you're allowed to eat a little bit more of those things that maybe are not the healthiest, right? Because you're going to be burning through them. And as you start to get more muscular and start to get stronger, you're going to end up needing more and more and more overall calories. There's perks and downsides to cutting and bulking, right? They each have their own set of benefits. So that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about for today, because I don't want to like throw out too much information, because it'll be a lot in one video. But the main idea that I'm trying to give you guys, the main amount of information I'm trying to give you guys, is that if you're trying to gain weight and put on muscle, you should be eating more than what you're burning every day. So try to find a way to keep track of how many calories you're burning. Typically speaking, I have myself and my clients, when we don't feel like using a watch or something like that, we tend to use MyFitnessPal, and then just kind of see how my body responds in terms of like, do I eat more carbs this day? Do I eat more fats this day? How often am I getting to that surplus? And when do I feel better, right? So if you don't want to use MyFitnessPal, you can do a typical watch. You can try to calculate it yourself, which gets very complicated. But start off simple and then kind of build up from there, and you'll be able to see your body change. You will. Like I said, forego the fact that you're going to get a little fluff. It's okay. If you're trying to get strong, if you're trying to see your numbers go up, if you want to maximize your strength and size gains, you're going to gain a little bit of body fat. Okay, there's a difference between trying to be super lean, which means you're probably going to lose some strength, and trying to be very, very strong and gain some size and get a little fluffy, which is okay. You're still going to put on plenty of muscle underneath, and you can still actually lose it fast afterwards, as long as you don't go overboard once you clean up your diet a little more and just slowly go back into a deficit or even a maintenance phase to lean out. Okay? If you guys have any questions or any comments, put them right down below, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you very much for coming back.